I read these two news stories on the internet this one time. The first story was about Ms. Government employee Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was talking about making sure the media and the news are truthful and factual. In other words, less distracting and more fair and equal, hypothetically. And then I saw a second story after Mr. President Joe Biden gets inaugurated now, has been inaugurated now, talking about a new normal. A new normal. For me, involves a heating device I spent all my money on this month to not be cold and freezing during a coronavirus pandemic winter. Turning off and on, malfunctioning. And I have a hallucination involving Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, yelling and screaming at Mr. President Joe Biden with her colleagues and comrades dressed in red, demanding their laws and rules are important for climate change, survival of children, and necessary for those elders in those cultural communities they've built with their hands and skin to serve those poor who suffer in those indigenous and primitive parts of planet Earth they proclaim as their own now. And after I'm done with my hallucination, I hear my refrigerator. I see a light, I see another light. But I hear no whisper, no voice from my neighbor who hits my wall. And I recall from my memory a time on a clock on a watch near 7 a.m. when businesses would normally open and economics would provide necessities and relief from distracting graffiti and urine and feces smells on concrete cement from Oregon and Portland, where they are the founding members of the world they proclaim and declare as Antifa and Black Lives Matter and politics and activism, and a color they call black. And sit quietly and silently and mysteriously wearing scrubs that I bought for medical school I'm applying for now, to help those children everyone says don't need what a federal government provides them and restricts and limits their thoughts and thinking in those schools, not giving them Marxism and communism and socialism instead of the racism of white supremacy and the United States of America, where they say freedom and slavery are an emotion and a self and an ego in a psychology and a psychiatry of another sound and word and written statement about some sentence and grammar of a linguistics a student learned in a university and college, where they are now a doctor with a PhD. Teaching in Canada, where they don't feel afraid anymore and they feel so free and alive with their health care for everyone. They write their philosophies of their communism, environmental activists, and Christopher Pavzek books about Minima Moralia and Theodor Adorno, and thought and thinking other than some Nazi fascist who tore apart a Frankfurt school and caused Walter Benjamin, to kill himself and die in a suicide caused by dominance. Now, a new normal with vitality and age on display. Videos and writings about uniting a planet and global world in a civilization other than a city and a state, who aren't fair, who aren't woke enough and canceling culture enough and allowing art and paintings and drawings and musical songs for babies to hear in their strollers when they're getting pushed down the street next to some man with a knife and someone with a bat, howling. They're famous, they're rich, they're powerful, and they have drugs legalized and sold by their cartel thug gang they call Capitol Hill, Seattle. Chemicals and substances, very little food, and no law by police except the tribal responsibility of an indigenous and primitive people, community, city council and mayor and governor, who are more aware, concentrated and focused with awareness than the United States Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton, who go faster than the United States Air Force in a B-2 bomber and have more consciousness than the practicing witch who has rituals. Secrets and gifts provided in their dialogue, appearance and style. now. The end.